Hello everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning. Today we're going to present Siklu's brand new multi-haul millimeter wave point-to-multipoint solution. Here with me we have Shimon Hochbaum, our product manager, and Matthew Mziel, our sales director, and myself. I'm the digital marketing specialist here at Siklu. And we will skip into our agenda. Today we're going to speak about our targeted applications with this point-to-multipoint product, product overview, how to order this product, and a pre-order campaign that we just launched a few days ago. In the end, we're going to leave some time for a Q&A session. You can also ask questions in the question panel, and if it's appropriate, we will answer during the webinar. Now I'm going to hand out the speaker opportunity to Shimon.
Good morning, everybody. So we are going to talk today about MultiHaul. As you can see, it is already in the field. We've got some outstanding experience so far. Customers have been able to turn up a link in really a few minutes and achieve hundreds of megabits of throughputs right there on the roof. So we are going to talk about how all this is actually realized. The targeted applications that we have with MultiHaul are mainly around smart cities and video surveillance, when we believe that bringing plug and play and immunity to interferences will really make it a lot easier to deploy and maintain reliable video surveillance networks all around the country, also in very dense deployments. And the other type of application that we want to address and help you solve your problems is with fixed wireless, where, you know, the buzzword of the day is 5G, and we believe that together with MultiHaul, we actually help you roll out 5G fixed wireless services today, anywhere in the multi-gigabit range, very dense deployments in unmatched scalability of wireless deployments. The way we are going to be able to do this is by expanding our urban offering from the street level and the rooftop with a new offering, which is MultiHaul, which is going to work in a point-to-multipoint fashion, so that it will be a lot faster to deploy than what has been done before, and still delivering gigabit capacities. A typical topology for MultiHaul is obviously to start with the base unit, placed at an optimal place high on the roof or high on a pole where it can see the coverage area, and from there reach the number of terminal units which are going to be placed where the services should be delivered. So on the front of a home, on the pole with cameras, or maybe Wi-Fi access points and similar devices. So very simple point-to-multipoint solution, where the base unit itself is obviously connected to the core network, or maybe to a point-to-point link if the connectivity is not available where the base unit should be located. Another option for the topology is still to place the base unit where it has base coverage of the service area, but not to utilize one of the terminal units to self-backhaul the traffic where the connectivity itself is actually available, in case it would be just an encumbrance to bring a network cable to the base unit locations, or just the power cable now at the base unit location, and then the core network itself would come into the cluster via one of the terminal units for a self-backhaul application. And another topology that we can realize with MultiHaul is a multi-layer network application in case the reach of the network has to be extended beyond the native coverage of the first cluster. And we're going to talk about reach in a moment. But if reach would not be enough for the first cluster to reach all the way out to the far end of the network, then obviously we can multi-layer the clusters. Or if we need to go around some obstacle, as you know, millimeter wave does not go through walls and buildings, so we could place a TU at a corner of a building and then with a short Ethernet jumper connect to a base unit, and from there go to another cluster around the building to offer services around the building.
Thank you for staying with us until now. We would like to conduct a short poll just to understand better our audience and how we can present this solution better for you. So if you could take a minute to click on the poll and provide us some information, it will be great. Thank you, everybody. Now we're gonna go back to Shimon and continue our presentation.
Thank you, Tanya. So, one could wonder, how does MultiHaul achieve wide coverage at the same time as it will still maintain narrow beams for the millimeter wave performance and immunity. This is realized with beamforming technology, which, as you could see here on the slide, will scan the sector serviced by the base unit, and we identify where the terminal units are located and narrow the beam very precisely to the location of each and every terminal unit served in the cluster. So every so often the base unit will do a very quick scan and, as I said, narrow the beam. This same technology works also on the terminal unit side, where it has to find where the base unit is located and which of the beams is going to work best to also self-align the beam from the terminal unit back to the base unit and maintaining a narrow beam in that direction as well. So we have basically a wide coverage from the base unit and a zero align feature, if you want, from the side of the terminal unit. When this beamforming technology works in both ways, we can basically now build a cluster which is today up to 8 terminal units in a single serviced by a single base unit, all with self-alignment, high-gain directional beams, which allow us to achieve multi-gigabit capacity across the sector. In terms of performance of multi-haul, we are going to talk about a few of the numbers here. So the scanning coverage for the base unit or the alignment capability of the terminal unit are 90 degrees horizontal. For most of the cluster, at very short distances, it is even up to 120 degrees. So plus minus 45 from the center point to plus minus 60 degrees when the distances between the base unit and the terminal unit are very close. The beam, which is realized by the base unit or the terminal units, is 5 degrees wide and 20 degrees high, which is also how we can cover at the same time units which are near and far in the cluster. In terms of physical layer rate, we have 2.3 gigabit of physical layer available in the sector, which is the raw capacity, if you want, of multi-haul. In terms of usable capacity, what we call the layer 2, the base unit will ship out of factory with a base capacity of 500 megabit, and it can be upgraded with a software license, a single software license, to 1.8 gigabit. The terminal units will ship out of factory with 100 meg base capacity and can be software upgraded to 1 gigabit basically. The units consume about 10 watt of power for their own needs. PoE out is available on the base unit, you will see in a moment, as well on some of the terminal units. We'll talk about that in a moment. We did not mention it so far, but multi-haul operates in unlicensed frequency, 60 gigahertz. There are 2 channels available. The channel bandwidth is 2.1 gigahertz. What is more interesting is, and very new for what the products that we've been building so far at Siklu, there is no downstream, upstream allocation, even though we talk here about a dynamic bandwidth allocation. So at any one point in time, the base unit and the terminal unit will decide how best to allocate the license capacity to serve the needs of the different services from any of the customers in the cluster. For example, at one point in time, a customer might want to download a very large file because maybe they're in the video business, and they will get the full downstream capacity up to 1 gig, for example. After they've processed the file and they want now to send it to the next user, if you want, of this content, they will start to upload the file, and they should actually get maybe up to a full gig of capacity in the upstream, because, as I said, the system is able to dynamically allocate the usable bandwidth in the cluster. In terms of capacity and reach, we expect the full rate, so 1.8 gigabit, to be available all the way to 200 meters, 600 feet. If we want a little less than the full rate, maybe for some video surveillance applications or Wi-Fi access points, backhauls, and 100 meg is all what would be needed, then we expect the coverage to extend out to 300 meters in that case. How does multi-hole look like? You can see here the multi-hole base unit mounted on a pole. There are labels on one side, LEDs on the other side. The LEDs are actually very useful. The power LED will be on as soon as the unit is obviously powered and the software has completed initialization. It is blinking during the power cycle. The Ethernet LEDs will be on when a service is connected. The color will depend on whether the rate is 100 meg or 1 gig, depending on what is connected on the other side of the unit. And the RF LED is the most interesting of all. On the terminal unit, as soon as it has recognized the base unit and completed the authentication negotiation, the RF LED is on. So basically all what one needs to do to start up a service, mount the terminal unit, we are going to see in a minute how it's done, power it on, connect the ground cable first, but power it on, wait a few seconds, you will see the RF LED is on because alignment of the beams has been completed, negotiation of the authentication parameters has also been completed, and you can just move on to install the next terminal units. So really from power to alignment, just about a few seconds. In terms of ports layout, the 3 ports are all at the bottom of the unit. They are on the base unit. We have 3 ports. 2 of them are gigabit capable via an RJ45 plug that will allow to utilize the full capacity of the sector. If you prefer not to run copper into your data center and you prefer to do that with fiber, then we have an SFP cage which will come up by default at 1 gigabit and can be configured to work in a 2.5 gigabit mode, and there the full capacity is available on a single fiber back to your data center. On the Ethernet port number 2, we have a PoE option of 26 watt. I told you earlier that the base unit needs only 10 watts, so we can basically daisy chain up to 3 of these base units, one after each other, to achieve a complete coverage of a sector around a single pole with a single power unit. On the terminal units, we have models with 1 port and models with 3 ports. The model with 3 ports can also do PoE out for Wi-Fi access points, video cameras and similar devices. Ethernet 2 is capable of 26 watt and Ethernet 3 is capable of 13 watts. The PoE power supplies that we ship together with the units in the package are configured to support the PoE capability of the units. There are no licenses required, so if you want to do PoE out, just power with the power supply supplied by Siklu in the box, connect your devices, and there will be power directly from the base unit or from the terminal unit as applicable. In terms of form factor, if you remember one of the first slides that I showed you with a drill on the roof, you probably appreciate now that these units are pretty compact, 7 inches tall, 5 inches wide, very compact, half a liter package, very unobtrusive when mounted on a pole or on the front of a home. In terms of mounting options, we have 2 ways to, or actually 3 ways to mount these units. By default, we are going to include a mounting kit in each package, so base unit and terminal units each come with the mounting kit, which you can see here on the picture on the left. It is here mounted on the pole with 2 bands, which are also included in the package of the base unit or the terminal units. If you prefer to do wall mount, then there are 4 holes in the mounting kit, so you can just disassemble the mounting kit from the unit, drill the 4 holes in the wall, screw in the mounting kit into the wall, and then reassemble the unit back into the mounting kit, and now you have done a straight wall mount, as simple as that. Because we have the wide scanning capability of the terminal unit, as long as the wall has visibility of the terminal of the base unit, within 45 to 60 degrees from the front of the wall, then the beam forming capability or the zero line will basically kick in, and the beam will self-align to the base unit, and basically that should be very easy from now on to do either very quick install on the pole or no pole install at all and do installs straight on a wall, as simple as that. The mounting kit is capable of vertical adjustment. In case the vertical adjustment of the mounting kit supplied in the box would not be enough, then you can see on the right the 4 holes which are similar to the 4 holes that we have today on our EH600 units, and the same mounting kit which is available today for our EH600 can mount behind the multi-hole terminal or base units, and now will allow vertical adjustment all the way to 60 degrees up or down if necessary. So 10 degrees with the kit which is supplied in the box. If the 10 degrees are not enough, you can go to 60 degrees with an additional accessory. Operations mode are very easy. Out of the box, the units are all configured with the same default security parameters. So basically, you go into the field, mount your base unit and your terminal units, power it all, and they will connect right away out of the box. Security is already active, and no need to do anything if that's good enough for the basic startup of the cluster. However, we recommend to be a little more careful and at least configure maybe separate IP addresses for all the units. Change the security parameters if you would like to actually convert your cluster from basic operation to managed mode. And that will also allow you to now start configuring VLANs and additional service configurations to offer basically a more granular control over the operation of multi-hole. But all that is very simple. The GUI is there to allow these configurations in the same way as you have been used to do configuration with the ether hole. You can do it now with the multi-hole. Very similar look and feel of the graphical interface. In terms of configurations and part numbers, you have all that here on the slide. As you can see, 3 part numbers for the base unit and the 2 terminal unit types. Base capacities are repeated here again on the slide. They are upgradable. The mounting kit and the 2 bands are included in the box, as well as the PO injector. There are no licenses for PoE out or PSC. There are licenses for capacity upgrades, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, and the mounting kit for vertical adjustment is also showed here. So really very little to remember and order if when you are ready to do so. Before we continue at this point in time, I'd like to start another poll. And basically learn from everybody here, what would be the main reasons for anybody to want to deploy a multi-haul. So please take 1 or 2 minutes here and let us know what would be your preferred reasons to deploy multi-haul. Okay, thank you everybody for responding to this poll. The main reason, as we can see from you, is that you think that gigabit is the main reason for everybody to look at multi-haul, and thank you very much for this indication. So before I would like to turn over now to Matt. Matt, would you tell us please what you have seen so far?
Good afternoon or morning, everyone. Thanks for attending the webinar. My name is Matt Musial. I'm based in Austin, Texas. I have been engaged with several proof of concepts and the beta program for the multi-haul. I think the response has been phenomenal as far as folks finding applications where they want to deploy this type of technology. We know that we're getting excellent throughputs. We know that we are finding out different applications as we've gone through the beta testing. We've got approximately 10 tests going on here in the States. We've got a lot of product committed for some large clients that are going to be utilizing our stuff for all sorts of applications. So we'll be happy to engage with you and help you to understand where the stuff fits. We've got a pre-order campaign starting here for you guys to go onto our website. We have a PDF that we're going to be providing. There's a handout, as a matter of fact, I think attached to the webinar here. And you can go to the site and you can request a quote for base units and terminal units. I do recommend if you have a proof of concept or you want to get some gear into your laboratory or out into a field test bed, that you get an order in fairly quickly. The production runs are going to be ramping up throughout the year to get us up to the levels where we need to be, but at the moment supplies are going to be limited. So it's very exciting stuff. It's an opportunity to get on on the list to receive stuff, and I think everything else will be pretty self-explanatory. Do not hesitate to send your questions in to marketing@siklu.com. If you guys have any technical questions, pricing questions, anything like that, do get in touch with us, and I appreciate it. Thanks for everything, Shimon and Tanya and everybody that joined.
Thank you, Matt. Very good always to hear from you, and I hope that everybody will find their way to this contact page. So we'd like to start now the Q&A session. We had a few questions coming in through the presentation so far, and we are going to do our best to address all of the questions which have come up, and if not, we'll pick those through the tool here, and we will answer to everybody via a handout after in the next few days. So the first question which is coming out is can you post a link to the offer on your website? Maybe there is a handout which is available on near the webinar where you registered. Please open this handout, and there will be the same links that you just saw on the slide a moment ago. Okay. Capacity upgrades for the TUs and the BUs. Question has come up from a few of the audience here. So again, the base unit starts at 500 megabit and can be capacity upgraded to 1.8 gigabit of aggregated bandwidth, so to serve all the units in the cluster. The terminal units start with a capacity of 100 meg and can be capacity upgraded to a full gigabit for each of the terminal units. Again, and because the bandwidth is shared, so we believe that at any one point in time, any of the homes most likely would be able to get the capacity that they need. Obviously, the 1.8 gigabit will be shared across everybody, but what we have seen so far is that anybody running speed test has been able to achieve at least 600, 700 meg, and the ones which were closer to the base unit have seen the full gigabit. Who are our stocking partners? There are the same partners that we have used so far at Siklu, Wincom, Connectronics, and a few others. We will provide the full list via the handout in a few days, as said. Do the radios have adaptive modulation? Yes, they do. We have about 15 dBs of adaptive coding and modulation. So if we would realize that the radio is a little far out, it will choose a modulation which allows to achieve as best as possible capacity in case of rain, because we are in millimeter wave after all. Then also during the rain event, the modulation will go down to maintain some connectivity between the base unit and the terminal unit. What is the limit on the number of terminal units which can be served by one base unit? The limit is 8 terminal units in one cluster. Remember that the reach is also between 200 and 300 meters depending on how the kind of capacity that you want to deliver to a terminal unit, and that we are talking about millimeter wave. If you deploy across maybe a large parking lot, you will probably be able to reach all the parking lots from one base unit. If you start deploying inside a street maybe, then the units which are across will all be covered, but it will not be easy to find maybe too many homes which are in the coverage of the base unit. So we think that 8 units, 200 meters are a very good compromise to achieve a good amount of services from one single base unit. Another question which has come up is in the case of a multi-layer topology, when we connect one base unit to a terminal unit which is itself served by another base unit, so we have 2 or maybe 3 layers of base unit to terminal unit, and then again base unit to terminal unit, and maybe once more. Is there any effect? Because we have a number of channels, the next cluster is not going to interfere with the previous cluster. So from that point of view, there is no straight interference or impact. Obviously, the next cluster is going to want to backhaul via the previous one, so the terminal unit serving a base unit, which maybe now consume 200 or 300 megabit, depending on what is going on in the second cluster, will try to consume that same bandwidth from the first cluster. As we may have in that case up to 1.8 gigabit, we don't think that it's going to be a great problem, but obviously bandwidth, if you want allocations, will have to take into account all of the terminals backhauled directly from the first base unit, or maybe from the next 1 or 2 clusters in the multi-layer configuration. PoE configuration, again, maybe was not clear in the presentation. The base unit has one port, Ethernet 2, which is PSC capable, and it will deliver 26 watt to a served device. If that device, for example, is another base unit, then the next base unit will take 26 watt and can hand out again 13 watt to a third base unit, so we can daisy chain up to 3 base units of the first one. The terminal units have again Ethernet port number 2 can deliver 26 watt, and Ethernet port number 3 can deliver 13 watt, so you can physically connect maybe 2 cameras and power them from these 2 devices, or 1 camera and 1 Wi-Fi access point. Do we have documentation? Yes, we have a lot of documentation available today on our partners' website. We have data sheets, we have product descriptions, we have presentations available. The presentation that we just run today will be distributed to everybody and will be archived on our website as well. Are there any regulatory restrictions? Sorry, but I did not mention that. This MultiHaul operates in unlicensed spectrum. It is still regulated by FCC, and the units have an FCC ID. The EIRP of a base unit or a terminal unit is just under 40 dBm, which is the regulatory limit, and therefore there are no restrictions from operation of MultiHaul in the US. Planning software, our link budget calculator, which many of you might have used in the past for planning point-to-point links, has been extended and can now calculate multi-haul links one by one. So you can plug the location of a base unit and a terminal unit either by range zone, by cities, or by coordinates in the link budget calculator, and from there check at the desired availability, 3 nines, 4 nines, 4.5 nines, and you will see for the link that you are planning what is going to be available across the link. Obviously, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 links, you have to plan maybe each link one at a time, because there could be different distances and the availability or the capacity of each of the 3 or 4 links in the cluster might vary a little bit. Okay, I think I've addressed here most of the questions which have come up via the Q&A. If there are still questions which are outstanding, then rest assured that we have captured all the questions, and we will provide a response via the handout that we will send out in a few days. I really want to thank everybody here, all the audience, for listening in this morning. If you want to see the MultiHaul in action and you are on your way maybe to ISC West in Las Vegas, we are there at the Axis Pavilion, booth 14059. You will see a MultiHaul on display. You can talk with some of our colleagues which are at the booth, and they will be happy to give you more information, show you how it operates, see it live. Thanks again for the participation. Thank you also to Tanya and to Matt for helping me this morning. Look forward to talk with anybody in some of the next webinars and discuss our products and updates very soon. Thank you now. Bye-bye.